I think I used to feel like whatever reaction I was having to whatever situation was just all encompassing.
Mm.
It was like I couldn't separate myself from the other person, from the thought, from the emotional reaction. It was like one big storm.
Yeah.
So now it's not like nothing ever triggers me.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, I think that whenever I have to meet a new person, there's a little like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
But so I'll feel that, but then I instantly know how to, and I even use that like little, I'm having a little reaction as a trigger for me to be able to really clearly sense where my body is, sense that I'm grounded, sense that I am in this space, they're in that space.
Yeah.
And we're connected, we're relating to each other, but I'm not sort of getting into this turmoil of a storm where I just can't weed things out. So I can just see, it's like I can just see, I can see my reactions that might start to pop up, and it's like I have a choice about that.
Hello, Field Podcast audience. Welcome back today. I've got a friend here with me that if you follow our panel show, you have heard from her on our panels before, but this is the first time you're hearing from her on our podcast platform. I met her through our good friends at Podmatch. I'm always so thankful to them for how they connect me to so many amazing women. And Lindsay Newitter is one of those people. And so I'm excited to share her story and resources with you on the podcast side today. She describes herself as grounded, centered, curious, introverted, and funny, which I love. And she's like, not everybody knows that about me. I'm like, that's the fun part about character traits and who we are, is that there's so many nuances of how we show up in different spaces. Lindsay, welcome to the Feel Podcast.
Thank you so much, Melissa. It's really nice to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. And I tell you what, listeners, this is something that as we get into Lindsay's story and hear about her resources and what she offers, it's going to be something that you probably have not thought about in this way before. But once you hear her talk about it, it's going to make a lot of sense to you. And you're going to be like, I know I was. The first time she and I talked and visited, I was like, oh, I get that now. And so I think it's going to be a really, really interesting new tool for you to consider in your care box that she's offering to us today. So let's get into it. Talk to me, Lindsay, about prioritizing self-care in your life and your journey with that.
So my journey, I don't know, if how common this is or not. I work with a lot of people, and they everybody's different. Everybody sort of comes from a different place. I know that there's a lot of culture around women being like in the helper role or being taught to be in that role and kind of defaulting to that. And I would say for me, it was kind of the opposite. Like I had no idea I could help people. I was sort of afraid of helping people. And I had this idea that no one thought I was a helpful person.
Oh, wow. Wow. Isn't it amazing what the thoughts we have in our heads do this?
Yeah. And so at the time, when I learned about the work that I ended up training in and have been teaching for 18 years, the Alexander technique, I was a college student and I was studying acting, and I was realizing that I was a bit shut off because I was asked to engage, obviously, quite intensely. And I was getting all this feedback about things related to my posture and how I moved and breathed, but also just about that, like I wasn't connected. I wasn't connected to my emotions. I wasn't connecting to other people. And I think I felt in my life that I'm the last person somebody would come to if they were having a bad day.
Oh, wow.
Which made me feel kind of bad. It's not that I didn't. I had friends, but I felt like I wasn't like that person people would come to, or like that they would seek out help if they were having a problem. And this is something that gradually changed, and I ended up getting into work that is all about helping people and self-care. So I would say that like my self-care issue was not that I was trying too hard to help others. It's that like I kind of didn't know where I was. I kind of like I didn't know where I was, where my center was, so that I would even know how to like sense myself in the relationship to the person I was helping.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. And the same thing I think can happen if somebody is really trying to always be the helpful person. They can kind of lose themselves. But I was just sort of like lost in myself, and I didn't know where that helpfulness would even come from within me.
Wow, that's so interesting. And I think that goes into, I'm just, shooting darts here, and this may not be it, but I think sometimes when you're more introverted, the world kind of magnifies and sometimes even celebrates big personalities and people that are really speak and show up in all of that all the time. And I think there's a misunderstanding that that's the way, and that's what attracts people. When in fact, some people that can be really intimidating or even off-putting. And so it's being, I think, because the beauty of being an introvert, at least in the experience with the introverts I know and I'm related with, is they have abilities to take in everything that's going on in a room, and really notice that. And when they speak, it means something. Like it's not just noise. And I'm an extrovert. So I mean, I'm not beating up on myself. It's just we operate differently in the world. Yeah. And so I think because of that narrative that's out there, so many times people that are introverted feel like maybe have those same thoughts that you're talking about, when in fact, you are the ones that we need to kind of let us know the temperature of a room sometimes and speak that thing. Because I'll tell you what, when the introverts in my life do say something, it means something. It gets your attention. It makes you stop and think. It's not just fluff. It is very intentional. And so I think, would you say those narratives impacted you, do you think?
Absolutely. I think I felt the time quite socially awkward. I felt like if I was in a group conversation, I wouldn't know when it was my turn to speak. It was sort of like everybody else knew when to say something, but I didn't know when to say anything. And then I can start to feel like, well, no one wants to listen to me, which kind of feeds into that narrative, like no one wants to listen to me. I'm not a helpful person. I'm not somebody to go to. And I do tend to take things in, like try to kind of take in the big picture and take a while to kind of assimilate what I'm taking in before I kind of say something.
Sure.
Doesn't mean I can't be in a, hopping back and forth conversation. I can do that too. But that tends to be where I feel my sweet spot is. And that if I'm allowed to do that, that I feel good. Yeah.
So talk to me about getting that to that point where you understood that about yourself, and you understood, oh, this is how these are the things I need to fill my cup. This is what works for me. And that's good. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing, and I show up in a way that's honoring to me and honoring to those I'm in relationship with.
Yeah, well, I think, it's been in phases, because when I encountered the work I do, which I already brought up because it was such a life-changing shift for me.
Yeah, talk about that life change. Let's talk about that.
And then, that was when I was 20. I just turned 46 yesterday. And
happy birthday.
Thank you. And so I am, like your life situation evolves. Some people go like, when am I going to get that? When am I going to have better posture? When am I going to feel this way? When am I going to reach this point at which apparently you're supposed to stay, and then it's perfect?
Still waiting for that. Yeah.
But I think we can develop skills that we take with us through, whatever we encounter. So at the time when I was 20, what was really coming at me and becoming obvious were two things. That I was in this acting program, and that I was really passionate about that, but it was I felt like I couldn't do it the way people wanted me to. And I was like, I'm not succeeding in this. I'm trying. And people are sort of acknowledging that I'm trying, but then kind of shaking their heads that I'm not really doing it right. The other thing was I had come off of 5 years of wearing a back brace as a teenager for scoliosis, which, the scoliosis itself was one thing. And then wearing like a plastic brace around my torso, that it affected my breathing. It affected my posture, just my whole body's ability to hold itself up.
Yeah.
And I was uncomfortable all the time. And it's like, I didn't really know what my body was doing. So I would get these instructions in these, voice classes, movement, acting classes, and sort of like, is this right? I don't know. Most people have had this experience to some degree, like maybe they've been in an exercise class or a dance class and somebody demonstrates something, they think they're doing it, and the teacher's like, actually, you're doing this. So there's kind of a disconnect between what your body's actually doing and what you're doing. And I realized this was kind of pervasive in my life. And it was after I had a class in the Alexander technique. It's actually taught in a lot of acting schools. But by this time, I'd gone through 2 years of sort of not knowing what the heck was going on with me. Not even knowing what problem I had. I realized that my problem was not that like I was bad at acting or that I, was just a lost cause. It was that I couldn't sense myself properly in order to do what was being asked of me. So this technique, it was like a light bulb came on in my body. The teacher put their hands on me and gave me some instructions, and I was like, I can feel what they're saying, what I'm doing. And are you familiar with the word proprioception?
I've never heard that. No.
So it means it's similar to kinesthesia, right?
Okay.
Kinesthesia refers typically to movement. Proprioception is just like your sense of where your body is in space, where your joints are, where you're moving, how you take up space. And that really determines a lot about how we move and where we perceive we are. And a lot of our feelings in situations, like we might think it's like, oh, it's a mindset. Like I'm in the social situation, I feel uncomfortable. There are thoughts about that, but there's also a physical pattern about that. So in terms of my acting classes, but also in terms of like those kinds of situations, it's like those patterns just lit up. It's like I could see them. And I had tools to be able to change them. So it's almost like being able to slow down that space between stimulus and response, which normally it's just like, blah, blah, blah. It's like this, you see this person and we react to them. It's like, blah, blah. Like you probably don't even, it's like a blip. And so the gobbledygook actually became like, oh, this is like, I'm experiencing what happens to my body in real time. And like why, like I suddenly feel like I can't breathe when I'm talking, or why I feel so tense or awkward, and that I could actually kind of go down a different path and do something. So I change those habits.
Yeah. And I think beyond the acting, and we'll talk about this more as we throughout the episode. There's so much more to it and how it serves you, but this was really a gateway that opened up for you because I don't think we cannot minimize what it must have been like. So in those formative years when you're learning how to move in your body in your teen years and learning and going through different growing phases, you had this brace on, so you weren't able to make those connections. And so all of a sudden you don't have it on, but your body is still coming from a 14 or 15-year-old, mindset of trying to learn how she operates, but you're operating as a, 19 and 20-year-old now. Yeah. This was really kind of a gateway for you to bring that all together and kind of, I would, I don't know if get caught up's the right thing, but be in touch with in a very intentional way that was served you so far beyond acting.
Oh, absolutely. The acting, that was sort of the entry point. And I often call this work the best kept secret that most actors know, but that everybody needs. Yeah. And sometimes people go, I've heard of that. Isn't that an acting technique? It's actually not an acting technique at all. It's just a technique to sense your body better, which helps. It can help, help people with most things. It's like super general. You can't help people with most things and things that they often don't think of as connected.
Absolutely. So, yeah. Okay. We're going to come back to that. But before we do, talk to me about confidently setting boundaries in your life, boundaries around your time, what you give your energy to. As introverts, you have to be, an introvert's got to be mindful of their energy. It is you having enough to give and also making time. And this world doesn't want us to shut down. It wants us to keep going. But you've got to make time to make sure you've got time to fill your cup in a way that's honoring to you and allows you to show up with the energy you want to. And that's true for all of us. But I think because of the way our society runs this, how we, glorify 80 hours of work week kinds of things and being out with people and super social all the time. It's like, no, we got to have time to fill our cups and rest and, and take time for that. So you're kind of, I think we feel like we're always like kind of working against the grain with that. So talk to me about what you've learned in your life about the importance of healthy boundaries for you.
Yeah, well, I think even knowing I had boundaries, that was something I learned with this method. It's like understanding my own boundaries in my body and my feelings and being able to sense myself as separate from all the stuff happening around me.
Yeah.
To sense like this is where I am, this is what I need. And then it's like, well, maybe I need to tell somebody I need this because I feel what I need. And, that's, I guess, manifested differently in different ways. I think one of them is a more recent thing, which was, during the pandemic, I both got married and moved to another country. So like, I was
so many things.
I'm from New York. I live in Montreal now, and my husband and I were in a relationship in different places. And the pandemic, we're like, we want to be in the same place. And so,
and Montreal's a beautiful place to be.
It is. And the thing is, though, is that we really started living together in lockdown. Right?
Yeah. Oh boy.
And which actually went fairly well.
Okay.
But the thing is, it's like we've continued to live together, both working from home. We both work from home. And I hadn't worked from home previously. I always had like a office studio space outside of my home. He's used to working from home.
Okay.
So what's been an adjustment for me, and I feel like it's still something I'm negotiating a bit, probably more with myself and how I express it, is like how to feel like I can work from home, get my work done, also feel like I have my own space and time and have quality time with my husband and with my kids, and like not feel like everything's just always bumping into each other.
Yeah.
I mean, like I even would include my pets in that. Like I'll be sitting in my office and it's mealtime and I've got 2 cats and a dog like sitting there staring at me. I'm like, what is this? And there's something like that I find really just focusing about, like, okay, I get out of the house, I go to this place for this amount of time. So sometimes it's actually scheduling that for myself. I have a friend who also works for herself, and we usually meet once a week and we co-work in a cafe and just get some odds and ends done, do some writing, contact with clients, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like that's helpful. Some of it is just, speaking up at home and saying like, get out of my office.
Workspace. Workspace, not play space, not home space.
I'm working now. I realize that saying like, okay, well maybe we can speak at this time instead.
Yeah.
Is helpful, so that, not just saying, because I think that the sort of emotional reaction would be like, oh, I need some time to myself right now, which sometimes I could fall into. But then if we go like, well, actually, no, we can kind of plan when we're going to do something, and then these things don't bump into each other. Yeah. And I would say just like being aware of how my body feels in response to what's going on around me helps me to be a little more proactive about those things. And, so you don't end up with like a train wreck of everybody needing something when you've got some work going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was such a good description of that. I think that bumping into each other piece, we all have to figure out our way to make that all work, because the first time I ever worked from home was during the pandemic, and now I do it all the time, but I had to when the workday was over, I had to go in my garage, get in my car, drive around the block. And it was actually my oldest daughter's idea. She's like, Mom, try this. This might help you, because we were all figuring this out for the first time in different spaces. Come back in the garage, and then I would come back in my house as my home, not the place I was working. And that really helped me. And I got to a point where I didn't have to drive, but my husband and I would intentionally go for walks. We would go for a walk at lunchtime. We would go for a walk.
We did that too. Yeah.
Yeah. We'd go for a walk after work to create the space of like, okay, we're leaving our workspace. We're together and communicating with each other. When we go back into our space at lunchtime, it was going back to work. After work, it was going back into our home as our home. And now we'll have our evening and this will be our home. But it was those little like kind of mental things that we had to kind of get our nervous system accustomed to. So it's just finding that thing that works for you within all that. And we had we had 4 of us at home at the time, 3 of us working from home. One was working outside the home. So she was living a whole different weird life of her own because she was, in the minority of people. So yeah, it was a very interesting time, but it really forced me now. And it's helped me now that I am home all the time, where I am able to, sometimes I just step out in between recordings or meetings. I just step outside in my backyard and I just take a breath or set some time, just to create that nuance, because otherwise it's very easy to just not have any, like you said, have things running into each other and not have those like, okay, this is work time, this is family time, this is me time, this is couple time, but you got to be intentional about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny. I would say that for me, that hit me after things opened up, because when things were shut down, it was sort of like you're in the house or you're out for a walk.
Right. Those are the only choices.
We managed that really well. And like the kids had school online, but like they didn't have to leave in the morning. There wasn't this whole thing. And then once things were open, I'm like, oh, I'm in a new city. I want to get involved with things and meet people. And then I have appointments outside and other people have appointments outside, plus working at home. Plus it was like suddenly there was like a lot more stuff to manage. So sometimes the simplicity actually is helpful.
I know.
Not that I want to be back in that,
right?
But it was clear.
Yeah, that's very true. So yeah, that's just, again, going back to that. And you mentioned too, listening to your body, like making sure it's like, I'm getting an alert here. It's time. I got, or even just remembering to communicate, like communicating the needs, the expectations, the boundaries. We'll get into all that. It's such an important piece of it as well, because no one's a mind reader.
Yeah. I mean, I have to be reminded that all the time. I'll say to my husband, like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. Didn't I tell you? He's like, no, you didn't.
I know. Same. I've been married for almost 32 years and we still bump into that. So yeah, it's an ongoing process and journey.
Right.
All right. And I think this is going to go nicely into, especially going back to what you learned initially with this Alexander technique of making that connection between our emotional, mental, physical, spiritual health, all those connect points. Talk to me about your journey with that.
Yeah. Well, I think I used to feel like whatever reaction I was having to whatever situation was just all encompassing. It was like I couldn't separate myself from the other person, from the thought, from the emotional reaction. It was like one big storm.
Yeah.
So now it's not like nothing ever triggers me. That I think that whenever I have to meet a new person, there's a little like, right? Like, but so I'll feel that, but then I instantly know how to, and I even use that like little, I'm having a little reaction as a trigger for me to be able to really clearly sense where my body is, sense that I'm grounded, sense that I am in this space, they're in that space.
Yeah.
And we're connected, we're relating to each other, but I'm not sort of getting into this turmoil of a storm where I just can't weed things out. So I can just see, it's like I can just see, I can see my reactions that might start to pop up, and it's like I have a choice about that. So it's like time slows down.
Yeah.
And it helps me see other people's needs better. Like then I can actually take in what I'm noticing about somebody and then go like, let me ask them a question. Like I'm not quite sure what they're thinking. I mean, that doesn't mean they're bored or mad at me. I'll just ask them what's going on, because I have the
you've got that sense.
The distance. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also it's like not being distant, but just having a little bit of space.
Right. Space. I think the spaciousness, you have that ability to be present, spaciousness, and it opens it. You've got clarity to recognize things and get, and trust those clues. Yeah. Oh, so good. Thank you so much for that. All right. How we can support ourselves and other women in living unapologetically. Talk to me about your journey, because I really feel like you've arrived at that space, but talk to me about your journey with that.
my journey with arriving in that.
Yeah.
Well, so like, you mean going from when I was 20 and I started like going,
and just when you had that unsure piece of not thinking you could help people or people were looking to you, to where you are now. That has evolved and grown and changed.
Yeah. And I would say that there was significant change that happened pretty immediately. And then it's been an ongoing process in which I'm like, I have skills and tools that I can use all the time. But I think what like the sort of nuts and bolts of it, and if this is a good time to get a little more specific about what it is that I do. Yeah. So like there's a mindfulness component in which is like, I'm mindful of where I am. I'm mindful of myself. Melissa, I'm talking to you. I'm mindful of where I am in space. But then like, if I'm aware of myself, what is me, or like, what is my perception of me when I am mindful of myself? Because a lot of people, like my clients, for example, when I'll ask them that question in the first session, like if I say, pay attention to your body, like if I'm just general about that. Yeah. Like, where do you sense your body? They might say, I don't sense it at all. Right. And right. So then it's like, okay, well, let's say if you do sense your body, where do you sense your body? They might say, like from about my chest to my head. Oh, wow. And that's where they're aware they only sense. And then we start to like pick that apart and ask more questions. This is where that proprioception thing comes in. So now we're looking at anatomy. I mean, I think, well, how do we jump to anatomy? But this has so much to do with how we function and how we feel in real life situations. That often, like, people are only like the person who's not aware of themselves at all. They might just be aware of what's in front of them. Like I'm talking to you and I'm just looking at you, and all my attention is going to you and like how you're reacting and what I see, and I lose myself. Or maybe I'm aware of myself, but it's just like here, it's just my face, like up to my eyes. So often people are just aware up to their eyes. Like they're not aware their head goes any higher. And then, you know, those little paper plate masks that kids make with right? Yeah. Yes. So like, I think of that as where most people are aware, like in their head, like they're aware their face kind of going toward things, like it's a flat thing, like they're a little paper plate mask. And they might not really sense their body below them or above them or behind them. But in reality, like, their head goes quite far back. And so like people can get into this, it's kind of like a startle mode where they're just sort of like pushing their face forward at the world, which actually locks your neck forward and kind of locks your head down onto your spine. And that just kind of shuts down your breathing. So some people will say to me, I get really out of breath when I speak. And it usually starts from there. And to go even further, like it starts from like the eyes and like seeing whatever the stimulus is, whether it's like the computer screen or like the person who comes into your space or the group of people you're talking to or the situation. Like we can get into kind of a tunnel vision about ourselves. We lose ourselves. And then so your awareness of yourself could just be like, just aware of like my, like the front of my head, or, you know, I just feel like my whole body is like a blob. Wow. So like they can't sort of separate out the joints. Or like where the arms are, like they'll say like my whole like shoulder, neck, upper back area just feels like one big blob. And in terms of their muscles, it actually is acting that way. And then that becomes sort of their perception of their self, but they might not be able to identify how it could be different. So my job is like actually like know in a very real way where their space is, because with habit we can lose the sense of where it is. So it's like you just sort of know what you feel, and you might not know there's more space to take
inhabit. Yeah.
And so there's like all this like advice, like stand up taller, fix your posture, stand up straight, take up your space. What most people do to try to take up their space or stand up straighter is they kind of pull their shoulders back, but then they're like scrunching their lower back. Your shoulders forward into something else. So they kind of like end up trying to fix things from the outside and like going to try to be taller, be more powerful, and it ends up being sort of painted on and forced. And usually it doesn't feel sustainable or like, it doesn't feel like genuine.
Yeah. I can't hold this for forever.
Right. But you're not supposed to hold it. Like the idea is just to be more in you, but you have to know where you is.
Yeah.
So like this is something that helps you know where you is.
Wow.
Like in a way that it's like you're seeing the hidden things you're doing that are keeping you from that.
Oh my goodness. So why do you think, and you and I talked about this when we met, but I want you to share this with our listeners. Why do you think this has been something that really has only been shared in this actor space? It's kind of mind blowing to me that this is not more out in the world in terms of people knowing about it.
Well, it's something that it's, I would say that like if most actors, if you mention it to them, they will have heard it. It is shared in more spaces, and it depends on where in the world. Like I would say in the UK, it's more of a household name.
Okay.
Where there are more certified teachers, kind of depends. But yes, it's mostly known in like that actor and musician world. It's taught in a lot of, like in the US, it's taught in many like MFA, BFA programs in universities.
Okay.
And I think one of the reasons is that, so in those contexts, the need for that is, and the obvious like application of it is super immediate.
Mm-hmm.
Like as an actor, you're playing a role. You're playing somebody else really intentionally. Like you're crafting all of their habits. So in order to do that, you've got to go like, what is this sort of, it's not really blank slate, but this person I'm working with is doing. Otherwise, you're just sort of like doing stuff and you don't know what you're doing. Kind of like what I thought I was doing at first. So being able to sense accurately what you're doing, so you can craft those sort of character choices.
Yeah.
So you can craft the character traits of your character, and not just have them be whatever you're doing. And then with things like music, acting to some degree, depending on what kind of acting you're doing, there's risk of injury. A lot of musicians get injured, repetitive strain injuries, and they can't play, they can't work. Yeah. So I've worked with musicians who, thought their career was over. But then with more body awareness, they were able to play without injuring themselves. Sometimes actors have to do quite intense things. They don't want to injure themselves. They don't want to injure their voices.
Yeah.
But all of these things I'm talking about, this is a method that it helps with your posture, with your breathing, with your voice, just how you're responding to stimuli. It's like what everybody does.
Yeah.
All day. And it's been around for 100 years. It was it was developed by a guy in Australia named Alexander who was losing his voice. So he went on to explore why that was happening and discovered that he was creating all this tension in his neck and his head. And it was actually that sort of not really noticing this pattern that was engaging that was causing the problem.
Yeah. Wow. I just feel like it's something that, because I had never heard of it till I met you. And I was like, how did I not know about this for the first 55 years of my life? This sounds like this could be really handy because so many of us live so disassociated from our bodies.
Well, there's where I think you get into a good point. So like the question of why is it not more well known? I said like, well, here's why actors and musicians find it so obviously useful. I think why it might not be so obviously useful to a lot of people is because it's not necessarily like the culture doesn't say this is something you can learn. This is a skill. It's sort of like people just go around and say, stand up straight.
Yeah.
Or, like get a job and you're just expected that you're going to be charismatic and stand in front of a group of people and give a talk. Or maybe that's just something you're born with and people have that or they don't. So there are all these skills of like how to be with yourself, how to be with people, how to interact with the stuff you interact with all day. And that it's not really like understood well, like I think, culturally, and often gets really oversimplified and makes people feel kind of embarrassed and a lot of kind of have shame about it. Like, oh, I can't do that. It must be a genetic thing I have, or, my mom always told me to stand up straight, but I can't. But, maybe the person's mother had no idea what your body needs to do to stand up straight.
Sure.
But then people don't know that there is a way to do that doesn't feel like you're
uncomfortable.
Yeah. Exactly.
And unnatural.
Yeah. So
Wow.
there's a lot of information out there that's like, quick fixes, and like quick fixes can be very enticing,
Yeah.
but they're usually not something that endures.
They're quick, but they're not, we live in such a fast food, I call it the fast food society, where we just want things immediately and we look for that quick fix, but the quick fix usually doesn't have long-term results. It's like anything. If we want it to stick, anything we want to move into and make part of our daily being, it takes practice and time to retrain yourself how to exist that way and be intentional about it.
Yeah. And that was one of the things when I saw your podcast, I was like, this is really interesting. It's not just about a soundbite. It's like a kind of really creative way to get to know people.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And and I think, and how this fits into all of that, I think is so aligned, and it's such a, it's such a good perspective, unique perspective. And I think it needs to be talked about more, because there's so many different things out there. I mean, I can't tell you how many times in my life I've been told, put your shoulder, even like by people that are well-meaning, even in like a fitness program that I utilize is very well-meaning, but it will talk about that. And I'm like, now that I know you, I'm like, that's not what Lindsay said.
It's really pervasive. And I recently started working with a group of people who run Pilates teacher training in Montreal. It's like this other step. They're teaching them the poses and the movements and how to teach other people, and I'm helping them see the habits that can sneak in there that can keep you from doing them the way it's intended.
Oh, wow.
And how to cue people better, and how to be aware of their own bodies better as the teachers, and like set a tone for their class when they come in. That's awareness, and not just if everybody's staring at the phones.
Right. Oh, I love that so much. That's so good. Thank you so much for that. When did you decide? And I would have to say, the importance of setting and coming back to your why and your values and everything you do. How much of a role did that play in these decisions you made to just not only embody this in your own life, but share it with other people?
Well, so when I decided that I was going to train to become a certified Alexander technique teacher, I really didn't know what that was going to be like. All I knew was that it was 3 years. It was 5 days a week. And I was like, I get to do this 5 days a week. And I was like, what kind of person am I going to be after 3 years? I'm going to be like really transformed. I was just so, I was so like into it.
Yeah.
That I wanted to do it every day. And sometimes people go like, what you mean? Like if I have to do this every day for 3 years to fix myself, right? It wasn't like that. It was more like, this is fascinating. I've gotten so much benefit from this. I just want to study it every day. And so I really went in with that, not even with the idea that I was going to help others. So here we come back to the helping others thing. Like I still didn't know if I could help other people. I was just like, I want to do this for myself. At the time I was writing and producing and performing theater. And I was, this will just help me with whatever I'm doing. And so then as I learned it, then I learned how to work with other people. And it's really just the whole like dynamic of that, the whole relationship of that was its own fascinating thing.
Yeah, I bet.
And that working with other people, in order to work with other people, I have to be working on myself at the same time, which I thought was really cool. Like it doesn't work if you're not. So
which is so key. That's a component of how we show up in the world and living our healthiest, most authentic life.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So it was just like I think a good thing for me to have to do something where I'm like, well, if this, I have to show up for myself, because otherwise this won't help somebody else.
Yeah.
So that was how I ended up teaching it. And I really think it was through teaching it that I became confident that I'm somebody who has now become centered and a good listener, and that other people can come to and talk to, and that I have something to offer.
Wow.
And like that sort of has become my reality. I would say still though, people tell me all the time that I'm a good listener. And I'm always like, that's so funny. It's like, I feel like that is a skill that I consciously developed. I was not born that way, or maybe I was born that way, but I did not come out that way as a young adult.
Yeah. Well, and this really this opened such a door for you. This really allowed you to tap into yourself and really live the way you were intended to live, and that, and to expand into that too. I think that's so, so important. Going in a little different direction. You mentioned earlier, you and your partner lived in separate cities for years. You lived in New York. You made the conscious decision to go to Montreal, to have your family there. And so I think your why and your values for that piece had to really pour into that too. You really had to look at, okay, for my life, for how I show up in the world, for this relationship, what are my why, what are my values, and how's that going to inform these decisions we make together?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, in terms of that, I think, I had lived in New York for probably about a total of 20 years at that point. And I was tired of living in New York. I was very happy about the idea of moving. Another thing, which I don't know if it has to do with self-awareness, but I had lived in France as a young adult. I had learned French. I had no use for it in New York. And I was like, I love languages. I guess it's like knowing myself. I love languages. I actually think it's a way to, look, I'm proving myself wrong, to get to know how your own mind works and how other people's mind work. Because when you get into another language, you see how like different people who speak different languages and different cultures are actually thinking and perceiving things differently.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, it's very fascinating. It was a language I made a lot of friends with it as a young adult that just been important to me. So I was very excited actually to move to Montreal. To get to be back into a French-speaking environment or bilingual environment. Yeah. So that was fun. I was happy to leave New York.
Yeah. Well,
it was a little harder. They had to adapt. They were a little more culture shocked than I was.
Yeah. Yeah. But also too, you taught them the ability to experience new things, and that you can adapt with change and learn and grow from it too. I mean, I think that's, but I love that you were able to tap back into that value of being bilingual in the language and what you can learn from that you probably didn't see coming 20, 25 years ago, but now life brought you back to that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was definitely a plus. And then it sort of became interesting that, I didn't feel like it was a big culture shock, but there were some like differences and some things I couldn't quite put my finger on that like took me a couple years to figure out that made me feel a little like an outsider. So I had to sort of do that, but it didn't become like, oh God, this is such a bummer. It was kind of like, I want to know more about that. It could be frustrating, but it's like sort of figuring out how do I fit into whatever this is here.
Yeah. Which is really probably where your curiosity served you well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Well, that goes really nicely into living out of our own expectations versus others' expectations. You do that today, but that's talk to me about your experience and journey with that piece.
I think, again, this being able to sense myself more clearly and my own reaction and emotions, and I catch myself. Like I catch myself seeing like, oh, if I don't do this, this person might be disappointed, or like doing something like because and in relationships there's give and take as well, right? Yeah. So I often feel like there's a fine line, and sometimes I think I'm like, oh, that wasn't the most aligned decision. Learn from that one.
We all do that.
Or sometimes I think I'm making the aligned decision, and then I go like, oh, there was this I didn't know about.
Yeah.
So I think it's just sort of a process, and I do the best that I can with the skills I have, and I think the skills I have are much better than they used to be.
Yeah. I think you mentioned that just the fact that you're able to notice it when it is out of alignment. tells me that you're
Yeah.
in alignment, if that makes sense. I mean, because
Yes.
if you're not in alignment, then you don't notice that. You just continue to go. Whereas when you are, you're like, oh, okay, lesson learned. We'll know better next time. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think one thing that is probably it's become one of my strengths is that I'm willing to try things. And if they, if it doesn't work out, I'm just sort of like, okay, well, on to the next thing. Like I might, like with my business, I might propose a workshop and, this one's full, but this one nobody signs up for. And then I'm like, okay, well, that's sort of what happens. And it's not a big deal.
Yeah. And now you don't have to wonder because you tried. I think there's a lot of Yeah, I like that. So, and I've learned to do that too. It's like, what happens if I do it and it doesn't work? Well, then I know. If I don't try it, I'll never know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Talk to me about accepting the layered aspects of yourself, all those pieces and parts of your journey that make up who you are. Some we love, some we don't. But I feel like when I work with women and groups of women in person and in our online course, I start here because it's like, without knowing how to accept who you are and accept all those pieces and parts of your journey, without removing the shame and giving room for everything to breathe and approaching with curiosity instead of judgment, it's going to be really hard for you to move forward, to see your value, to prioritize yourself, to know what your why and values are, to know where to set those healthy boundaries, to know what those expectations are and the need to communicate those. Really starts with that layers journey piece. Talk to me about your layers journey and learning to accept and acknowledge and be open to all those parts of yourself.
Yeah, I think being asked that question, the introvert layer, I think that's the one that probably comes up the most, and that I had to sort of most consciously think about, because sometimes I get into situations where there's a group of a bunch of people talking, and I'll start to get that feeling like I do something I could say here, but I feel a little bit invisible. I feel like I don't know where to jump in, or like people aren't giving me the room. And often I'll just notice in myself that sort of energetically I'm a little low energy at that moment. I'll be like, maybe it's okay to be invisible right now. Like I don't feel like outputting right now. So fine.
Yeah.
I'll just leave where I am. Yeah. And then sometimes I can feel like I come into an environment and there's a lot of energy there, and I'm with that. And I feel like people are totally with me, totally listening, and that I can get a word in.
Yeah.
So I think that really being conscious in that way and taking responsibility for myself, it just helps me get out of this kind of insecurity I had about like not being listened to, not being able to speak up in groups. It's just like, well, sometimes I feel like I'm really present in there and can jump into the flow of conversation. And sometimes I don't, and that's okay. And if I don't, I could just sit there and listen, or maybe I just don't want to be in that right now. Like, could do something else.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how the ability to like not feel like you got to force yourself. I mean, if it doesn't feel right or aligned, or the energy isn't there, we don't have to force ourselves. I mean, I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be on all the time. And it's okay if we're not on all the time.
It's also, I mean, it's an interesting cultural thing too, because not every culture values being like really.
Yeah.
Like I want to say extrovert, but I don't, because there's nothing wrong with being extroverted, as you
said,
right? You can be very genuine, very connected, and extroverted. But there's this thing about like having to put out a lot of energy.
Yeah,
kind of like in your face, and like if you're not like go get them, you're not moving up.
Yeah,
I was teaching in Japan for 3 weeks in 2019. And I remember just feeling like, this is like an introvert's dream. I feel like it's not what's valued here.
Yeah.
It's not value. And it was interesting teaching a group, and that everyone kind of just like was really attentive. Like they didn't say a lot, but they were super with me and attentive.
Sure.
And then at the end, they asked really thought-provoking questions. So they were kind of like really listening, really gathering information, and then asked really amazing questions at the end. And I'm not judging or criticizing people jumping in with questions or other ways of reading. It's like really hit me how cultures value different behaviors differently.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And a reminder, there's multiple ways to be, and taking the right or wrong off of it and just allowing the nuance of all the different cultures and the value they each bring to the table. Yeah.
And I love being around people who just like, they're right there with the energy, because it brings my energy up too.
Yeah.
Like if I tend to be a little bit like, I'm in my taking things in, it brings me into another sort of state, which I like as well. And sometimes I need.
Sure. Oh, thank you so much for that. That was so good. All right. In summary, in living out feel, finding empowerment, embracing layers, the name of this podcast, talk to me about the impact doing that has done for your relationship with yourself as well as your relationship with other people.
So I think that the relationship with myself is knowing more clearly what I need moment to moment, or at least understanding what's happening with me, which makes me feel in charge of myself, like in command. And it's not just like, the world happens to me, which is how I used to feel, which then makes me be able to actually take in and be like really present with other people.
Oh, I love that. That's so good.
Notice them as themselves and whatever they're going through, and that it's not me. Quick story. I have an example.
Yeah.
I think I was like in my early mid-20s. I had this job at a tech company. It was while I was training to become an Alexander Technique instructor, and there was one of the managers in the office who just always seemed really stressed. And my reaction to that was to get really intimidated. I was the admin, and she sort of wanted something from me. If I saw her coming, I'd be sort of like there would be this very physical reaction. And one day I saw her coming toward me. I could see that she was stressed. And there was just something that went like, wait, you're here. She's there. That's not you. And she needs help with something. And how are you going to help her if you go into her like sort of anxious energy? So I just stayed in myself and calm, and I was able to listen and respond. And I was like, wow, that's never happened to me before. And so that was one of those like really aha moments. It was fabulous. And she's somebody who actually ended up becoming my client later, and we became friends. It was cool. And I always remembered that was my sort of first reaction to her, and that I had that big aha moment.
Wow. That's such a good example. Oh my gosh. And just being aware of that. I'm like, wait a minute here. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for that. So good. All right. As we wind down here, talk to me about 5 activities that nourish you.
All right. I wrote those down. I'm going to have to look at them.
Okay.
So the first one is sort of like something I do ongoing, but it's applying these skills I've learned through all the years I've had studying Alexander Technique just to my day-to-day, which is what I teach my clients too. It's not just like you set aside time to do these 5 exercises, is that you're really conscious and not just mindful, but conscious in a very specific way as you're doing things. So that's something that I use. I use it all the time.
Yeah.
And people go, isn't that annoying? And I'm like, no, because I've practiced. So it's like I can hear the fan on in the back of my room. And I could like, I hear that louder because I'm paying attention to it, or I turn the volume down. So you can kind of turn the volume up and down on that awareness.
Sure.
So it's very helpful. The others are, I really enjoy running. And it's something my husband does a lot of, and we do it together, which is fun. I love being in a dark room, like photography, like old school photography.
Yeah.
I used to do a lot of, and I have gotten back into it in the past 2 years, and it's like my sort of Zen space.
I love that.
And let's see, I like going out with my husband and sharing a meal and chatting. And I enjoy drinking coffee and staring out the window. So I love in the morning. It's just to like kind of find a place where I have a view that's a little bit far.
Yeah.
And just drink my coffee and kind of.
That sounds very meditative.
It is it's like meditative with your eyes open.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, that's so good. All right. 5 words on how you want to feel the next 6 months.
The main thing is to feel more expanded. So I'm talking about being expanded. So
yeah.
Like I feel quite centered and grounded, and I want to have more of a sense of expansion. So like one would be expanded, and another would be like sort of not, but like not way of being present, but sort of like not like I'm reaching for things. So
yeah, not chasing.
Not chasing. Yeah. Because I think I've gotten like played around with different ways of being organized, and like I'm going to accomplish this, and then sometimes like the organizational practices I try to implement end up stressing me out. So I'm like, I get stressed out. I will get done what I get done, and so that would bring me to the next thing, which would be just be consistent.
Yeah. I think that's it's hard to do, but it sounds, it sounds, it's like, oh, I'm going to be more consistent. And then you look at, and I'm not going to chase, and and then you're like, you look at your calendar, like, oh, okay. Well, in order to actually honor that, we need to do some rearranging here, because those things all fall into that category.
I know. And then it's like, I think I'm working with my actual schedule, and I'm just like, or like this thing, I'm like, I'm going to do this, but like, there's something I'm like, I really don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Or how would I make it? So I want to, I'm just trying to be more, like a little more chill about all that. It's like, as long as I'm consistent, that's the point.
Yeah. So good. All right.
Do I need to do 2 more, or is that good?
You can do 2 more. If you've got 2 more, do 2 more. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay. I was like, did I forget? So the other thing is to be a bit more understanding, think of my family, and more collaborative in general. I think that's something I can develop further.
Yeah. Ah, so good. You've made me think about those things now too. I love it when I have these conversations and people say things and are like, oh yeah, me too. I think I need to dive more into that. So it's always bringing these things to life. Thank you so much for that. Tell people, and this will all be on our resources page, but tell people where they can find you and follow you. And by the time this episode drops, you will have developed something else that's going to be available soon as well. So talk about all of those things. And then of course it will be on our website at embracinglayers.com on the resource page as well.
Okay, sure. So you can visit my website, which is my name. If you need to look how it's spelled, you can just look on the show notes, right? But I'll spell it. It's Lindsay, that's with an A. So it's LINDSAY, Newitter, NEWITTER.com. And if you visit my website, you will see that there is a free training there. So if you want a little bit of an insight into how to establish some of this, better body awareness in a really specific way, not just like there's my body, but be really specific about it, you will get that in the free training. So I highly encourage you to check that out.
Ooh, that's good.
So the event that I was talking about that will be coming up in early 2026, right at the beginning of the year, is an 8-week online course. So I work in person and I work online. This one is online. It's accessible from anywhere in the world. And it's a course for women that helps, it's called Interact with Impact. And it helps exactly that. It helps you to stay with yourself while you're interacting with other people. And a lot of the beginning work is very foundational about just getting this very clear sense of being in your body And then we look at how you take that into your relation with other people in situations that might trigger you to get out of that. And really the goal is to help you be more impactful in work and in life in a way that feels very grounded, very, very authentic and not forced, right?
Yes.
Don't tell anybody to pull their shoulders.
Yes. That's your takeaway. I will never tell you. You will never hear that again. Oh my gosh. I love that so much.
There's information on that, of course, on the group offers section of my website, but also if you do watch that training, there's information on the course at the end, and it tells you how to register.
Perfect. Yeah. All right. Oh, Lindsay, thank you so much for this. I'm so glad we met. I'm so thankful to know about this. It's just brought up all kinds of curiosity in me, and it's given us an opportunity to share this with women for this thing that I'm sure so many didn't realize they could tap into. So thank you so much for that. I love how this impact it had on you and how it became this thing that you not only were able to tap into yourself in such an authentic way, but then offer that to other people as well in a way that before you would have never imagined. I think that's just such a beautiful story.
Never. It was like the opposite of what I imagined.
Yeah. I love that so much. Any last thing you'd like to leave with our listeners today?
I would say don't, if you think something isn't possible, like if you think you're a certain way, you think that something isn't possible because, you're just that way, or like some people are born like, with that special charismatic something. That's not me. This is all stuff that can be learned. All stuff that can be learned. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Oh, thank you so much for that. Oh, so good. So good. All right.
This is a great podcast. Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate you being here with me today, the way you show up in the world, these resources you share. Listeners, so much to learn from this. I really encourage you to tap into this. Go to embracinglayers.com, go to our resources page, tap into that freebie she's talking about, and really get in touch with yourself in a way that maybe you didn't even know was possible. That's going to be the way to engage that I'm going to challenge you all with this week, is this tap into this piece of you in a way that maybe you haven't thought about before, and see what it opens up for you, because you're worth it. And we all want to encourage all of you to live in your healthiest, most authentic present way. And this is just another resource that can enable you to do that. Lindsay, thanks again so much for your time today. I appreciate you so much.
Thanks, Melissa.
You bet. All right, listeners, take good care of yourselves. Thanks for being with us today on the Feel Podcast, and we'll see you next time. Hello, and thank you so much for being with us today on this episode of the Feel Podcast. If you would like more information on how you can apply these talking points that I share with our guests in each episode to your own life, really utilize this Feel framework, go to embracinglayers.com, fill out our contact form, and let's set up a free 30-minute consultation to talk about how you can start living your most authentic, organic, healthy, feel-fueled life. Thanks again for being with us today. We'll be back to you soon with another episode here on the Feel Podcast.